My name is Leah Brooks, and I stopped being part of my family the day my brother needed somewhere to live. It happened on a Monday evening. Dad stood in the hallway with his arms crossed, looking like he'd rehearsed what he was about to say. "You can take the guest room," he said without meeting my eyes, "or you can move out." I frowned. "The guest room? That's my room." "Not anymore," he replied. Mom stepped into the hallway calmly folding a towel. "It would be better if you moved out," she said as casually as if she were talking about the weather. Then my brother walked in with his wife, smiling from ear to ear. "We'll make it work," he said, brushing past me like the house already belonged to him. I packed my things that same night. No one offered to help. No one asked where I was going. No one cared. A week later my phone rang. It was my brother. The moment I answered, all I heard was panic. "She's lying. Mom, tell me she's lying." His voice cracked with fear. Something had fallen apart. Not just his relationship, but the perfect story my family had built without me. I listened quietly while chaos exploded on the other end of the call. Then I hung up. 5 minutes later Mom called. She left a voicemail. "Please, can we talk?" Funny. Just days earlier I was someone they could throw away. Now I was suddenly the one they needed. I sat alone in my small apartment surrounded by half-unpacked boxes. My kitchen dishes were still sealed in cardboard while my phone kept buzzing on the table. Eventually I played Mom's voicemail. Behind her trembling voice, I could hear my brother shouting. "She's accusing me of stealing money. She says I forced her to quit school. He says I hit her. Leah, tell them she's lying." His wife, the same woman who had claimed my room, worn my bathrobe, and thrown away my shampoo like I had never existed, had turned against him. For the first time my family wasn't defending him. They were looking for me. The phone kept vibrating but I ignored every call. I knew more than any of them. I knew what she had done. I knew what my brother had hidden. And I knew what my parents had chosen to ignore for years. Now their perfect family was falling apart and I was the only person who knew the whole truth. 2 days later I finally replied. I sent one short message. "You chose her. Now live with your choice. ***. 3 minutes later Dad called. His voice was quiet. No anger. No excuses. "Leah, we didn't know what she was really like." I stared at the wall. Not because I believed him. Because it amazed me how quickly their loyalty disappeared. The moment their perfect daughter-in-law accused my brother, everything changed. Suddenly they wanted to hear my side. The same side they had ignored when they forced me out of my own home. I agreed to meet them. One meeting. A public place. No surprises. No guilt trips. We met at the small diner I used to love. Dad looked years older. Mom couldn't even look me in the eye. My brother wasn't there. "We just want to know the truth," Mom said quietly. I slowly stirred my coffee. "Oh, now the truth matters?" Silence. Dad looked down. "They're saying I hurt her," I continued. "When did either of you ever believe I was capable of something like that?" Neither of them answered. That silence told me everything. They weren't sorry. They were terrified. Because the daughter they had thrown away was now the only person who could expose everything. Before we left they asked if we could be a family again. Not immediately. Not under the same roof. Just back in each other's lives. As if being pushed out of my own home had never happened. As if the betrayal had simply disappeared. Dad sighed. I should have realized she was trying to isolate him. Mom nodded slowly. She kept telling us you hated her. She said you made up stories because you wanted attention. I almost laughed. After everything they had believed about me, they finally wanted the truth. The problem was, the truth was far worse than anything they were prepared to hear. I didn't hate her at first. I only started hating her when I realized how she used silence like a weapon. She would ignore people for days, twist every conversation, and make everyone feel guilty until they gave her exactly what she wanted. My parents sat quietly. Finally, Mom looked up and asked, "Was your text true?" I met her eyes. Every single word. Then I told them everything. I told them how she controlled my brother's phone, how she lied to friends, how she rewrote every argument to make herself the victim, and how she screamed at him until he broke down in tears, just like we used to when we were children. "You welcomed her into this family," I said. "You gave her my room. You pushed me out and called it love." Dad leaned back in his chair looking like the truth had hit him all at once. "She's destroying him," he whispered. I shook my head. No. You let her. For the first time my mother cried. Not because she finally understood my pain, but because she realized I wasn't coming back to fix the mess they had created. The next morning my phone buzzed with a message from my brother. It wasn't a text. It was a photo. A screenshot of a police report. His wife had accused him of assault. Beneath the image were just 6 words. He says you knew. Please help me. Asterisk asterisk. I stared at the screen. I wasn't shocked. I'd warned him. First gently. Then directly. I told him she was manipulative. Controlling. Dangerous. He called me jealous. Emotional. Bitter. Now he was trapped inside the same nightmare I had tried to protect him from. I didn't answer immediately. Instead, I made a cup of tea and sat on my apartment balcony, letting the cool morning air clear my thoughts. When I finally replied, I wrote only one sentence. Start by telling yourself the truth. The typing bubble appeared, disappeared, then appeared again. No message ever came. A few minutes later, another text arrived. This time it was from his wife. Whatever he told you, don't believe him. He's falling apart. You're next. Asterisk asterisk. He thought I would be afraid. But fear had left me the night my own family told me to pack my bags. After surviving that, threats no longer meant much. I ignored her completely. By noon my brother texted again. She's threatening to go public. She says she'll destroy all of us. All of us. Interesting. Just days earlier I wasn't part of the family. Now suddenly I belonged again. I answered with one line. You destroyed your family the day you pushed me out. Then I turned off my phone. That evening I drove past my parents' house. I had no intention of going inside. I simply wanted to see it one last time. The lights were off. The windows were dark. The house that once echoed with laughter now felt empty. Earlier Mom had called. I let it ring. This time she didn't leave a voicemail. Inside my coat pocket was a letter I had written months before. I had never mailed it. I walked to the porch, placed it beside the front door and left without knocking. The title on the first page read, "This is everything you chose to ignore." They finally read it. They were already too late. Everything unraveled faster than I expected. Within a week, my brother's wife posted accusations all over social media. Screenshots. Voice recordings. Half-finished conversations. She carefully edited everything to make herself look like the victim. But she forgot one important thing. I had saved everything. Every threatening message. Every email. Every voicemail. Every lie. I sent the entire file to a lawyer I knew from college who specialized in digital harassment cases. The next morning she received a legal notice. 2 hours later, every post disappeared. Soon after she published an apology. Not to me. To the people she admitted she may have misled. She wasn't defeated by anger. She was defeated by evidence. Facts don't argue. They simply exist. A few days later my brother came to my apartment. He looked exhausted. Like someone who hadn't slept in weeks. I lost everything, he admitted quietly. You were the only person who ever told me the truth. I listened. I let him say everything he needed to say. But I didn't invite him inside. Forgiveness isn't the same as forgetting. Healing doesn't always mean rebuilding relationships. Sometimes it means protecting your peace. And that was finally what I chose. 3 months have passed. The chaos is over. The silence is peaceful now. My parents eventually stopped calling. Mom sent one handwritten letter saying she hoped I was doing well. She never mentioned forcing me out. She never apologized for giving away my room. She never acknowledged the night they watched me leave with nowhere to go. I never answered. My brother moved out and started therapy. I hope he finds peace. I don't hate him anymore. But I don't trust him either. I've learned both feelings can exist at the same time. My apartment finally feels like home. The boxes are gone. The couch where I once cried is now where I read every evening. The little plant by the window is somehow still alive. I bake more often. I sleep through the night. I laugh without forcing it. And when my phone rings, I no longer feel afraid. I've started writing again. Nothing dramatic. Just the truth. Because that's where I left them. In the past they chose for themselves. They made room for someone else by pushing me out. So I made room for the only person who truly deserved it. Myself.